Council meeting of Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 to order. Roll call, we are all here except for the mayor. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any presentations tonight? Any more presentations tonight?
There are none.
Great. Any additions or changes to the agenda?
Just point of clarification, under council comments, it should reflect Patrick Sumner instead of former council member Phillips. Apologize for the software error.
All right. Public comments? Any public comments?
We received none.
What about the letter you sent us?
Oh,
That,
yes.
or should that not maybe be later?
I have not consulted with the attorney.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good. No public comments. Consent agenda. The following items are considered non-controversial by staff and are recommended to be read and passed in one motion. Any council member, person, staff, citizen, or meeting attendee may request one or more items be pulled from the consent agenda, and the item will be pulled and addressed immediately after the passage of the consent agenda. Otherwise, the following items will be passed in one motion. Approve City Council work session minutes from February 18, 2025. Approve City Council members from Approve City Council minutes from February 18, 2025. Approve City Council special meeting minutes from February 20th, 2025. Approve payment of bills and finance report. Adoption of resolution number 2025-025, ordering improvements and preparation plans for the 2025 Design Road and 371 Stormwater Improvements Project, municipal project number 4135. Item 6, adopt resolution number 2025-026, ordering improvement for the 2025 Commercial Full Depth Reclamation Improvements Project, municipal project number 4425. Adopt resolution 2025-027, approving plans and specifications and authorize advertisement for bids for the 2025 Commercial Full Depth Reclamation Improvement Project, municipal project number 4425. Number 8, accept the Parks and Trails Commission meeting minutes from February 25th, 2025. Approve, number 9, approve playset replacement at Southdale Park in the amount of $142,751.30. Number 10, adopt resolution 2025-028, approving the sale of Lot 1, Block 1, Cedar Scenic 2nd Edition, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documentation related to the sale. Number 11, adopt resolution 2025-029, approving the final plat of Common Interest Community Number 1088, Fairview Office Park 6 Supplemental CIC plat.
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. No pulled agenda items. Other business, approve the Baxter Dog Park design improvements.
Well, thank you.
wanted to just take a few minutes, if I could, to just kind of recap what occurred at the Parks and Trails Commission meeting. Recently, the Parks and Trails Commission reviewed the dog park in detail based on council's direction at your February work session, where there was consensus direction to see what could be done with the dog park costs from the kind of the initial cost estimates that were generated on what would be needed to do a base project and then an expanded project. Really trying to look at those costs from the base project and trying to see if there's ways to get the costs down from the base project. And so just wanted to report on the Parks Commission recommendation, which is outlined in the report here. There's really three things the Parks Commission looked at. Really the three improvements that have some alternatives and or cutting. The first item is a park entrance sign. With our other parks, we have a wood sign that's wood engraved at our parks within the community. And that carried with it a cost of estimate of $7,775. The Parks Commission is recommending, at least for at this time, as a cost savings measure, to move away from doing that sign at this time, moving forward with a more standard 2x3 metal sign to reduce to create cost savings for that particular item. 2x3 sign is between $200 and $300 and would save that almost that full amount. Item 2 that was part of the Parks Commission recommendation was to swap the restroom facility that was shown near the parking lot and exchange that with an ADA satellite in exchange, and that carries with it $58,000 in cost savings based on the estimates for what would be needed to make that change. So a good amount of cost savings with that recommended improvement.
Josh,
Yes.
would that be similar to, like, say, the trailhead parking where they put a fence around it?
Right. Or another good example would be up in the Jewelwood Park area, where we have a satellite with a fence around it as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then the third item that was recommended by the Parks Commission was it was not a swap, and actually just to cut the play equipment. So there was an estimate of $25,000 to actually have things like ramps and things, actual play equipment. Like we'd have a playground for humans, this would be the play equipment for the dogs themselves. With the idea that, there would still be a park, there would be a parking lot, the trail to it, and the enclosed fenced areas where people and their dogs could go and enjoy the park. They could get the socialization. And it's, I think with each of these, it's not necessarily not that you can't do it in the future, just maybe not with phase 1. It's something that the Parks Commission, with their recommendation and discussions, felt like those would be items that could be cut out of the project and still have a successful phase 1 project for the dog park and the community. Looking at all of those together, you're going from basically a phase 1 estimate that was listed at $457,400 and getting that project cut by another $90,550 in total cuts to reduce that phase 1 of the dog park down to an estimate of $366,850. So what we evaluated when we did that, our last discussion of kind of the state of our parks improvements in the last 2 years in that February work session. When you look at the analysis of what's in the park dedication account, where we were at, we needed to get $70,000 at minimum, which would draw our park dedication fund really down. Not to zero, because we have some land payments over the next 6+ years. But speaking for that and conservatively looking at that we need to get $70,000 cut out of the dog park to make sure we don't end up in a negative balance with that park dedication. So that's really what was proposed by the Parks Commission. The recommendation is here for your consideration. And if the council's comfortable with those improvements, then we're asking the council's consideration of the Parks Commission recommendation is to make those 3 modifications to allow the dog park project to go forward. One last thing I would just note is that if the council is comfortable with the Parks Commission recommendation, or if you alter it, if in the end you are comfortable with moving the dog park project forward, the next phase for us would be, or the next step rather, would be to do final plans and specs to prepare this project for bidding. And so we would be coming back one more time to the council for those final plans and specs to allow bidding to occur.
So do we have a proposal from a company and an amount to do the final plans and specs? No?
You want to take that one, Trevor?
Witset is under contract.
So they're under contract, so if we wanted to, we could push it into plans and specs tonight?
Yes, that's what.
All right, that's a good answer. Stop, that's a good answer.
No,
I do have another question.
that's what we're waiting for is tonight, to say that you concur pretty much with what the Parks Commission said, so we can do the final plans. They're at about 60% is where they're at, so then we finish it, come back at the first meeting here in April.
Yeah. Do you, on your computer, do you have the cost estimate handy?
Sure.
My computer's off, I had to shut Siri off. She was making too much noise. Can you tell me what the woodchip path costs?
I don't know the.
I think,
cost of that, 'cause
I don't,
like the city.
I think that was, the city was doing that work.
No, we never did do any cost estimate on the wood chip trail, because we assumed that was done by Parks and Trails Division.
Okay, but it's still gonna cost us money, right? Even if you're Parks
Well,
and Trails Division,
Yeah,
it's still gonna
it's
cost.
coming out of the general operating budget of Parks.
Okay.
If the city staff does it, it'd come out of the general operating of Parks.
So is it $1,000 or is it $10,000?
I don't know what it would cost, I haven't done an estimate on the length and stuff. Because we're not convinced that we're gonna do wood chip either.
Well, and here's my point. You know, as I look at the map, there's 2 north-south trails on there. There's one paved and there's one wood chip.
Yeah.
And we're needing to save money. I would prefer to get rid of the wood chip trail and put a permanent sign up that matches all of our other parks, instead of a 2-foot by 3-foot metal sign that it's gonna rust and we're gonna have to replace it. Yes, it's only $200, but it doesn't fit our standard park signs. So,
I had a thought, well, I have several thoughts actually, but as long as you brought up the sign, my thought was if we go with the metal sign, I would like to see something larger and a little bit more adorned. Like I have that cutout of the giant paw print, something to make it stand out, so it doesn't just look like a population sign in Baxter.
We only needed to cut, why don't we do this, we only needed to cut 70,000, we cut 90,000. We've got 20,000 to play with. Why don't we take and go through the design process, when I come on April 1st, I'll show you with or without the sign, what the
okay,
costs
well,
are.
let's go around the room then and see what kind of.
So I'll have some thoughts. First of all, I want to thank the Parks and Trails Commission because I know it's difficult to make cuts. It's a lot more fun to be able to add things, but like Mark and you shared, they did reduce it by 90,000, which is fabulous because we did all have sticker shock. But my thoughts were, if we could get closer to still reducing it for me around that $70,000 mark, my suggestions would be these. Rather than having 2 sets of apparatus, one for the smaller dog park and one for the larger, just have one in the larger. And that would save probably $12,500 based on the cost. Or actually, they would add it back in, I guess. The dog park is probably more for humans, or as much for the humans as it is for the dogs themselves, because emotionally, it's so good for people to connect, and dogs are a natural connector. I would like to see at least 2 more benches put in. And if we can afford another picnic table, that would be great too.
should have explained that because I do know that was a council discussion item from the February meeting. They did talk about the council comment about how a water spigot could be added near the parking lot, saving water line from being brought all the way into the center of the park. The one thing that kind of changed the thought process is there was a lot of discussion about surfacing and growing grass, and there was a lot of discussion about what's the proper surface for the dog park. You know, surfacing is tough because dogs wear things out, and one of the best things that staff thinks and the Parks Commission agreed is to grow grass. Obviously, it's a wooded area, but it's been thin, there's sunlight getting there. But the best way to grow grass is to make sure it's watered. And so we're already in the phase 1 base project, bringing a shallow water lane that would be seasonal to run irrigation, that would get blown out. And that same water line that would help keep the ground coverage established with heavy traffic of pets and humans would also be easily able to provide that water service.
Perfect.
So that's why it's with their recommendation.
So it's in there.
It's in there. It's still there, so more cuts could be done there. Sure. You want it.
Zach, do you have comments?
I guess I just noticed the bituminous trail being 10 feet wide. Does it have to be 10? Could it be 8? I know that's not a huge savings, but
It's 20%.
true. And I guess I also looking at the wood chip trail, just thinking through, like, it's cool to have a trail, but it kind of is just a loop that people would probably randomly walk. At this point, it seems optional to me in terms of getting the dog park built.
We've kept it 10 feet in order to get maintenance vehicles and everything now, and then for snow plowing. The narrower we get, then we start pushing those edges and going over the edge, busting it off sooner than the 20-year lifespan. So we've always done all our trails at 10 feet because all of our equipment is, 8 to 10 feet wide. So that's the only reason that it's at that is, that's what we do citywide, is everything's 10 feet wide or wider. And we will be bringing maintenance vehicles in and out of this, especially for the snow plowing and stuff. If we decide, that's another thing that's gonna be said. How open is this park gonna be? Is this park gonna be closed in the winter time? Is it gonna be open year round? We've got a lot of discussion coming up on operating.
Sure.
So my recommendation would not be to cut the width of the bituminous and the Gentian, because I think we'll bust the edges off sooner rather than later, which then just causes more patching and more issues 10, 15 years down the road.
And based on I would just add to the wood chip in terms of a cost savings, it's listed on this plan as a wood chip trail, but doesn't have a cost associated in the base project. So really it's cleared and grubbed as a corridor right now. It's just an untreated surface at this point.
All right.
So
Do you have anything else to say?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Patrick, do you have any comments?
Yeah, not to beat the proverbial dead horse to death, but the wood chip trail, I think Mr. Pennington mentioned it, as far as like suitable walking surfaces. I'm gonna just echo that wood chip trails are not great. They're just, if there's anything that, I mean, the trail is already grubbed. I've snowshoed it. It looks pretty nice. To mimic what's done in the Arboretum, just a mowed trail, I think would be beautiful. And for walking dogs, to make an extra loop with the dog, I think would be helpful.
I want to reiterate too, that I'm ready and willing to go to service organizations to ask for donations when needed to.
Yeah, that was part of the conversation at the work session. I'm working with our city attorney on a donation policy that is not ready for, we're still working on it internally. I intend by the time that we're back here for, excuse me, for the approval for the plans and specifications, that will have those details to be shared so that any intent to do additional phases of the dog park will clearly have a policy ready to go.
So you asked for more benches.
yeah, I have a question about
recycle it into like a Trex deck type bench. So that might be something we do as a project for the dog park here too. Yes, sir.
Can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
comments on it.
So just so I'm clear, from the base project, it had 2 benches and 2 picnic tables. So your ask was to get a little bit more than the 2 of
I would
each?
like to see double that, to
Okay.
have two, because
So
honestly,
four.
people love to sit and talk about their dogs and watch their dogs play. And
Sure.
especially if we're gonna have that nice walking trail, I do think we need to have those benches for the humans. And if the money is there to get 2 additional tables, great, but I would push for the 2 benches for sure, so a total of 4.
And if you're going to do that, I'd put the extra ones in the dog park.
Right, I think the picnic tables were gonna go in the middle in these areas,
Oh, okay.
correct?
Okay, we're going inside.
The benches are these red boxes here, but there's placeholders for a lot more benches, 1 here, 1 here, there's 1 here, 1 here, 1 here,
That
1
might
here.
be something down the road, we could have a memorial bench too, to go.
Absolutely. We have our active memorial bench program where people do donate benches for memorials, and lots of times people are looking for a place where they can put them. And so we can add this to an opportunity for suggested locations as well.
Did you have anything else?
Oh, that was it.
Anybody else have anything? Thank you.
Just to make it clear though, on the wood chip trail, that wasn't being planned to be built overnight. You know, like we built some of our other wood chip trails or just dirt trails in our Mock Park and other areas of Baxter, Whipple Beach, to the north of Whipple Beach. It takes our city staff 3 to 5 years to get them established good and get them up. But in the meantime, people can start walking once the trees are cut.
I like the idea for asking it. I don't,
Yeah.
make sure you put some seed in there for it.
Yeah.
Let's grass it.
So,
Yeah.
just warning, a lot of this stuff is the whole build out, you know, over the next maybe 20 years, but, so, that's ain't gonna be done overnight.
Well,
The
that's
base is.
why drawings have to be clear. And it says future bench, but it doesn't say future wood chip
I
trail.
know, that's my
Okay.
mistake, because I don't know how long it's gonna take us to get the trail all built. We're still cutting on it. As of today, or yesterday, we were still cutting on it.
And there
And
would be,
opened up.
sorry, there would be a paved entrance for people on wheelchairs to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything in purple is
Okay.
the pavement. It's the pavement away from the parking lot.
You don't put a little pavement into the dog park though.
Concrete. Concrete is in the unleashing area.
Right, the concrete area, I believe, is in phase 1, but not the building structure.
Okay. Let's clarify that we'll at least have.
We want to be able to get the wheelchair beyond the leashing area into the park.
And if you want to go strict ADA, they should get to the picnic table.
Okay. Nope.
Okay.
That gives me, then we'll come back on into the April meeting, April 1st, I think is the next council meeting, the first meeting in April. We'll come and we'll show that, and then we'll see where we're at with the budget. Try to fit it all in.
Why is April 1st the next?
Yeah, no, I'm talking in April, first meeting in
Oh.
April. There's another meeting here in March. March 18th is the next council meeting this month.
Okay.
I said that wrong.
It's okay.
It's been a very long day with the power outage last night. It's been a very long.
Power outage, I think we have power outage.
I got 2 flickers.
15% of Baxter was out of power last night from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock.
I got 2 flickers.
7 of the stations now.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So,
Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to council comments. Connie, do you have anything?
I have nothing more.
Zach?
I do have 2 quick things. Probably should have mentioned it during the EDA portion, but I just would encourage us to continue looking at opportunities to sell land that we're holding as a city. And then the secondary conversation, I just wanted to loop back. A couple meetings back, we were talking about roadway width, and I made the assumption that we would follow up without explicitly asking for a date and timeline, based particularly on the fact that my suggestion, Councilmember Licio agreed with the idea of having the conversation at the time. Don't want to put you on the spot to continue that, but.
I'm still Team Zach on that, a little bit.
All right, so I just wanted to have that conversation, make sure that it's clear that I'd like to have that in the next several months. So, yeah, a workshop, something like that.
Yes, and it has been discussed, and our goal or objective would be, as we talk about the payment management program, the assessments, that is part of that conversation.
Sounds good.
Let me add to that.
Yeah.
What you don't know, Brad, is that I gave SCH is looking at the 2026 Clearwater and Lindale project and Brentwood Circle. As part of the contract that's gonna be coming through in the Utilities Commission, is I told them they have to address the cul-de-sac radiuses and the width of the bituminous streets with the 2026 projects in order to finish and update the feasibility study. So it's coming in their contract and it'll be part of the overall discussion with the entire feasibility update for 2026 streets, water, and sewer improvements project. So I'm planning on that as part of SEH's contract.
So you're looking at it from project scope, but overall community-wide, we'd be looking at having that as part of the policy discussion related to assessments, payment management program.
Sounds like a good time to have it. Thank you.
Anything else? Patrick?
I have no comments.
I have no comments tonight. Drive safe, I guess would be my major comment. This morning was quite interesting. City Administrator's report.
There is none, Your Honor.
Anything with city attorney at this point?
We do not have an attorney report.
I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion to adjourn.
Motion,
Second.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Well, right, so.
Thank you.